Namaskar, ladies and gentlemen. I will be explaining the learning to learn system or the L2L system that I have conceptualized with common sense for creating world class companies and exceptional leaders based on the traditional PDCA cycle. I will begin with Etna, an active volcano in Sicily. I chose this to communicate upfront the enormous amount of potential that we have in any organization. As is in nature, any organization too has an intrinsic system. L2L has been conceptualized for creating world class companies and has various elements combined out of common sense, is a closed loop system for continuous learning like the PDCA cycle, directly applicable for manufacturing industry, also adaptable to any industry or business, will create consistency in performance, and will significantly increase employee engagement. Did you know that as per a recent Gallup employee survey, on an average, only 13% of the employees are engaged worldwide, and in India, it is just 9%. 1/4 worldwide are actively disengaged, my dear ladies and gentlemen, whereas in India, it's even worse at 1/3 who are actively disengaged. Apart from increasing the employee engagement, L2L system will also ignite passion with a common shared purpose. In the coming slides, I mostly have questions, and I strongly believe that you have the answers for all these within your organizations and within yourselves. I will now explain the elements of the L2L system. The first step is to understand where one stands, and this is precisely the objective of the organizational health check. Organizational health check has been grouped into three parts: performance check, perception check, and potential check. Performance check is all about how people, leadership, expertise, finance, infrastructure, management, and speed of changing in an organization are performing to meet the stakeholder expectations. The perception check is to assess how the various stakeholders are perceiving the value that the organization is giving to them. Stakeholders like investors, management, customers, employees, business partners, society. Finally, the potential is about checking how high is the potential of the individuals in the organization, so that they can understand what they need to do to be able to change the performance, and thus the perception. Under potential, the self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationships, business awareness, and produce awareness are the ones which would be assessed. You are welcome to visit www.samuthana.com/OHC and check it out. 30 minutes is what it will take. After the health check, we need to understand the reality. As individuals, we perceive one current reality in less than a fraction of a second, with about 100 billion neurons and 100 trillion synapses, the connections in our brain. Imagine our plight whenever we have perceived multiple current realities. I'm sure you would have gone through those times. It's definitely a tough one. How can we then get many people perceive one current reality of an organization, whatever it may be? The current reality tree is thus built up by getting everyone list out the undesirable effects that they observe in the organization, and then together building a logical cause and effect chain. I have been using this with remarkable results ever since I got to know about the theory of constraints and thinking processes advocated by Eliyahu Goldratt. Once we know where we are, we can then think of where we want to be. Shouldn't we also have a common purpose and an agreed upon strategy? If I have a purpose of building a great civilization, as you see in this picture, and creating great cities, isn't it extremely important that everyone supporting me and around me are equally enthused with this purpose? Are all those supporting you equally enthused with your purpose, my dear ladies and gentlemen? Ask yourself, if not, is it not your job to get that done as the first step? I, as an individual, find it challenging to find my purpose, to evolve strategies. I believe many of you are along with me in this challenge. Having said this, is it not necessary that we get the many people in an organization find a purpose and evolve strategies thinking together? How important is this to you, and how effective are your leadership workshops? Before we start to go where we want to go, let me explain engineering from my perspective, because engineering has a lot of sense in business. I would now like to define engineering before proceeding to the deployment. Can you imagine what the best engineers we can think of did in the past? They found sustainable solutions for anyone, even an idiot, to utilize it safely and with pleasure. Isn't complaining about inability, incompetence, ignorance, etc. of the users of a product, service, or system a strong syndrome you may see whenever solutions don't work? I would define engineering as making any solution, system, product, software, service, etc. available to the humanity globally through quality mass delivery in a safe, economical, and sustainable manner, encouraging continuous learning and progress. With this definition of engineering, I will explain the functional value stream, the basic order that is required to reach our purpose. Organizations have systems, and these are obviously engineered, aren't they? Let's see how a functional value stream would look like. In my understanding of an organization, the upstream functions should be providing solutions, and the downstream function should recognize their performance for continuously meeting the market demand. Do the leadership, finance, IT, quality, HR, etc. in an organization continuously strive at providing engineered solutions, from the definition which I did earlier, to the organization? Do they, on the other hand, use their hierarchy to get the downstream perform somehow? Maybe we need to really think of this. I've heard lots and lots of managers and leaders complaining about the inability of the junior staff. Is it not their job to provide them a solution so that they can be able to use the solution and deliver what the customer wants? In any such stream, my dear ladies and gentlemen, there is a flow. Similar to the relay race, batons of information, decisions, materials, documents, policies, products, services gets passed on from function to function. I will now use an analogy to explain the baton that gets passed on. Especially during Diwali and Christmas, streets get lit up with great designs. As this entire design gets put up, I'm sure there will be a lot of people involved in the value stream who continuously keep on working, getting the items, getting it organized so that the deadline is met and the lights are on. In a relay race, both the athletes and the spectators can see the baton and pass it effectively. It's quite obvious, isn't it? What about our functional value stream? Do you know what the batons are? Could it be one? Could it be multiple? It could be materials, it could be decisions, it could be documents, policies, products, services, etc. The next element precisely gets into this detail, which is what I'm going to talk about now. How would you define the baton? The first foremost aspect is for each function to define what the function needs to perform. Information, decision, materials, infrastructure, manpower. This is something basic, they need it. And the next one is to define what is it that their mandatory daily routine is. Maybe it's about planning, team communication, controlling, reporting, checking out something, reading some material, explaining to the team, etc., etc., etc. Once these basics are listed out, then one can always make sure that when he gets the baton, when he gets the information or decisions from the earlier upstream functional value stream, he or she can make sure that he's getting the baton in the right way, right time, and also can make sure that he can give it to the next function correctly. To do that, one needs indicators to really talk about what are my KRAs, what are the KRAs for which I am responsible for. Based on this, I know whether I can perform the task correctly or not, and whether I have done the job correctly or not. Having the basics and indicators, it is equally important for us to continuously learn. Imagine a situation that you have all the basics in place and you have met the indicators, and it's a great learning that you know how to do the job, how to deliver consistently good, great quality. Now, having learned this, it makes it quite obvious that you can teach the others too, so that the organization grows as the nature has grown over the years. I always try to reflect organizations to nature. I'm sure using the learn to learn system, one can create an organization which is as harmonious as nature. Therefore, it's important that we teach. Not only is it important that we teach because others can learn, also it's because we as individuals can reinforce our concepts when we teach. The other side of the story, let us assume that we had the basics. I had my information, decision, materials, infrastructure, manpower, everything, and also had the mandatory routine listed out. It was perfect, but my KRAs were not met. I could not really get going. And there also I can think of some learning in telling that what is it that is missing. So once I do know that, I start teaching somebody, which makes my concepts more clear, and the other person also gets the idea as to how it can be done in a good way. Equally important is to talk about at what speed do I do all this. This is what the last part of bits, which is the basis for defining how the baton gets passed on. Speed is depending on the clock speed. Example could be when you are having an assembly line with cycle time of seconds, then it's very important that any decision need be taken within possibly minutes. Otherwise, there could be a lot of bad parts or wrong parts getting produced. On the other hand, if a particular industry has a product which takes almost 6 months to complete one cycle, and there one can wait for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours or even a couple of days and weeks before any decision is taken. Finally, my dear ladies and gentlemen, it is extremely important that the baton is passed on time with 100% precision and quality. Now that we have identified the baton or batons, we must fix some targets so that we know where do we get to and how fast do we get to, which again are linked to the purpose, which we spoke about earlier. Imagine a relay race without seeing neither the next athlete nor the finish line. God only help us. Therefore, it's important that the targets are clear and there is no haze in what we are wanting to achieve and how fast we want to achieve that. Our purpose in organization is to create passion and get everyone energized. Defining goals linked to the purpose can create this passion. At the same time, it's important that we make sure that there is a appropriate distribution of result indicators and process indicators so that one does the job in the right way. And always there is a traceability to the source so that whatever data that gets measured or reported is having a good foundation. Otherwise, we would be building castles in air, which I'm sure none of you would like to have. We are now ready to deliver either a product or a service. We are racing now. It's a race, a relay race. We are racing now. Things are happening. When was the last time that you were in the zone is the question I want to ask you. When something is being produced or some service is being rendered, it's absolutely important that the person who's doing it is working in the zone. For you to get an idea what the zone is all about, how many times have you taken your toothbrush to the cheek by mistake? I'm sure it would be almost zero. That's when you are in the zone. When you are in the zone, you are not consciously doing any job. It's the absolutely and enormously powerful subconscious which is doing the job. The reflex actions in the body which are doing the job. It's an automated routine that you have learned. And therefore, the chances of somebody missing out something is very, very less. When you are in the zone, you don't feel time go by. When you are in the zone, you almost always get an outstanding quality, an outstanding result. When you are in the zone, you get this outstanding and great quality and great result, but you are very, very relaxed. And that's the magic of working in a zone. Once we are performing in zone, like I said, mistakes happen very, very, very rarely. Now let's see first of all whether the production and the service what we have defined all this while with the upstream functions, is it done so precisely that one can work in the zone? How do you know whether one can work in the zone or not? It's quite easy to get this organized. One needs to make sure that there is no mura, muri or muda. These are the three types of waste or hindrances, barriers that one can have. Mura is strain due to unevenness, which could be because of fluctuating load, inconsistency, and it is not rhythmic. Zone is rhythm. There is a rhythm in the zone. Muri is stress is due to overburden. It's because of absurd targets, excessive load, unreasonable demands. Then obviously you get stressed out. Muda is something which is visible. There is no value addition due to waste. That is what Muda is all about. Defects, inventory, motion, waiting, transport, etc. Now, having delivered the products, I believe we did work in the zone. Shouldn't we check the score, my dear ladies and gentlemen? I am really amazed at the way many of us keep playing the professional game without a scoreboard. Over and above this, our gut feel makes us believe that we are doing fine too. How come we take a different approach, be it tennis, soccer, basketball, cricket, or any other game, where we are very conscious about the score? Food for thought, reflection, please. When we have a scoreboard, we need to have a scoreboard which is corresponding to the clock speed. I would suggest that in any industry there should be a daily scoreboard, weekly scoreboard, and a Pareto scoreboard, which should be more or less on a monthly basis, a stakeholder perception scoreboard, and finally the organizational health check on an annual basis. First and foremost important thing is the comprehensibility and the understandability of the score in seconds. See, brain works very fast. For you to just get an idea, if we start counting all the synapses which I spoke about in one of my earlier slides, 1 per second, it would take 32 million years by the time we complete counting all the synapses in our nervous system. So with so many synapses in the nervous system, in the brain, in the human neuro system, can you imagine how much time it would take for anybody to understand the score? It would be just in seconds. And therefore, score must be understandable, must be comprehensible, very fast, otherwise we get impatient. And the timing should be corresponding to the clock speed of the industry of what we are measuring. And we should be able to identify the focus areas, because in the case of industry, it's quite important that the score also should in some way or other identify which area we need to focus on. Won't scoreboard make it easy if in case you had one? I'm sure you may be having one. Just get back and see if whatever that I spoke about on this slide is really true in your case too. Now that we have the scores and surely want to win, I'm sure each one of you want to win, can we take a strategic timeout, please? The one which we do in the game. Now let's see how it's going to work out. Reflection during a timeout is essential to review, learn, realign, and move faster and more committed towards the goals. I'm sure each one of you agree. Let us look at the timeouts in an organization using the strategic timeout in soccer, basketball, cricket, etc. as a reference. I'm sure we can reflect much better doing so. Like I said, we have a daily scoreboard, so daily timeout, weekly scoreboard, weekly timeout, monthly scoreboard, monthly timeout, quarterly and yearly scoreboards, and yearly and quarterly timeouts. The first and the foremost question, in the case of a game, when there is a timeout, the entire team is present. What about the organization? Is the entire team present? Yeah, in the great ones, the good ones, it generally happens regularly. but then where we have different priorities and the purpose is not defined correctly and the entire L2L is not in place, definitely you can imagine, just think over, reflect. Now, this is extremely important. Was the current score checked? I have had in my professional life quite a few experiences where I have gone to meetings where the score itself is not known. We spent almost half an hour in trying to understand what the score is, and then it was late for the timeout, because otherwise we had to work too. We need to play the game too, so we had to close the timeout and start working. And we did this for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, till we understood how the current score has to be checked. And we started checking the current score. Once we did that, once we ensured that the entire team was present, the current score was checked, before we did anything, magic happened. Just magic happened. I'm sure each one of you also would have gone through such experiences. But despite having done that, many a times we have a timeout, we conduct reviews without knowing the current score. Of course, we review the recent events. The recent events have been reviewed. Yes, we do that. And many a times with a lot of emotion. Notably so, because we don't know whether what we did yielded any result or not. And we evolve strategies and it is deployed too. But my dear ladies and gentlemen, what is important is here, if we are evolving strategies and deploying, if we are discussing a lot of things without really knowing where we are, what is the base, how sure are you that this is going to be successful? And finally, after deploying the strategies, roles are also defined. We have a very standard format of defining who's responsible to do what action and at what time and when it will be done, etc. And sometimes it is also quite, I'm not sure, surprising that these actions get defined in every meeting and then it gets into a open point list and very rarely gets reviewed, because everyone assumes that the roles defined are already known and everybody would have done the job. This is something which is interesting. I'm sure you may also be thinking something in this direction. That's something to reflect on. Commitment to win reinforced is the last that happens in the game whenever a timeout happens. Does it happen in the industry too? Yeah, most of the good ones, yes, it does. And even the different industries, it does happen. People say that, look, we are going to win, but we're really not very clear about the strategy, not knowing where they are, and finally end up not winning. And that's what that's not what we need, do we? I'm sure you can think over, and this is something that really kept me busy for a long time. I would really think through and then get engrossed in the reviews and the way we do the timeouts. It was something entirely interesting. Now just close your eyes for a couple of seconds and reflect about the scoreboards and the timeouts in your organization. I will count silently 10 and then continue on. We did discuss and define the next steps, didn't we? Before acting, would it not be necessary to understand the cause and effect? That's what precisely the next element is all about. Based on the discussion and the focus area defined in the timeout, it is essential to understand the situation in totality before acting. We may have to quite often go back in time to understand the cause for preventing an undesirable situation, like the one you see in this picture. A quick correction, however, before understanding the root cause, will totally erase the opportunity to understand for prevention, because for prevention, one needs to understand what is the cause, how did it occur. Only then can it be prevented. Now, if the correction is done immediately, that opportunity is lost, which is quite strange, but it's true. There are quite a few methods of finding out the root cause. The easiest one that I have known is a technique of asking why 5 times. That I am fond of. It's very easy and one generally gets to the root cause within no time. Of course, there are other tools too, like using data, using facts, history, checking out on the decisions, Pareto analysis, Kepner and Trago analysis, flowchart, good bad comparison, etc. Capability, of course. I'm sure you know much more than what is listed on this slide, and you're doing a great job with that. Finally, we can now act to further hasten our journey towards our purpose. For that, we need to act. Once we have understood the cause, we need to act both to correct and prevent the current situation. Only then will progress result. Otherwise, it would be status quo and we would continuously keep firefighting forever. The best action is when it is integrated and disturbs the situation the least and encounters the least barriers. Finding the answers to some questions before acting, I am sure, is a wiser way. What about barriers? Are there any barriers? Is there ownership which is guaranteed? Will sustainability be guaranteed? And then we can act both for corrective and preventive actions. With the CAPA, which I just went through, I have explained all the elements of the L2L system and will finally build it up as a conclusion. Nature is very pleasing and unconditionally lovable, my dear ladies and gentlemen. Imagine if all the organizations were to become so. I believe the L2L system is in the DNA of such great world-class organizations that are very close to nature. As in nature, in such organizations, there is enormous amount of energy and positivity to tackle any challenge and master it. They are the winning teams, the continuously winning teams, the consistently winning teams over decades. Like the chicken and egg story, we do have a system and behavior story, is what I define it as. Instead of almost continuously trying to change the behavior either through hiring and firing or through coaching and counseling, why not try changing the system itself to inspire thinking and thus behavior? I had the opportunity to lead people from various countries and confirm that the average ability is the same across all cultures and nations. But it was the system and the environment that brought about different levels of performance in these organizations. Of course, we can catalyze a change in your system and get you to consistently create natural magic. I'm sure you would find it very interesting. You would find it very strange that there is no rocket science in the entire presentation. How come it works out? Believe me, my dear ladies and gentlemen, the solution is always simple. It's just going back to basics. Wish you all the best. Have a great day ahead and a great future in becoming a great world-class company, and you as individual to become a great, exceptional, outstanding leader who leaves behind a legacy. Thank you so much. Have a look at the animation.